welcome back to Wargaming World. So a game of Chain of Command and to the campaign game Strawberries for Elephants. I'd just like to do a quick recap of Tom McKinney's campaign and just to explain some of the differences between how the campaign has been put together and how I've played it. For the original scenario, it's been put together with 8 platoons on both sides. And essentially it has 3 phases in terms of a recce phase, an infiltration phase, and then the final attack with the Germans to the key objective, which is the bridge which has already been blown by the British on the 14th of May across the Dial River. I felt to play the campaign with 8 platoons on each side, really essentially an attack and defend kind of scenario would be very disadvantaged to the Germans and make it unrealistic. That's with no disrespect to the designer of the campaign, but more the fact that I think most of the games would be Germans attacking, British defending in a suitable position, and would make it quite repetitive. As a result, I reduced it to 4 platoons for the British and 6 to the Germans. And so far in the campaign we then rolled to see where the attacks would take place, and the majority of the German attacks is actually on the German right flank. However, we started on the left flank with a night attack, which more or less came across as a draw in the end. Again, in the original campaign the idea was to play individual set battles, and platoons would then be withdrawn from the table. However, what I've decided to do is to continue with these reduced forces to see what follow-on actions would take place. So it means that the second scenario has moved along to what is scenario H, which is the battalion boundary for the British to withdraw to that position. In actual fact, in terms of the scenario I'm playing, there isn't a head-on action across the damaged bridge. So the Germans don't look to attack at Gastouche, and instead it is entirely a flanking action with the major German attack on their right hand side, waiting also ultimately for a British counterattack. Now this is the second game of the campaign, and this one is entitled The Battalion Boundary. So a very quick recap. The British platoon here that you can see fought at the paper mill in the first game. It was a night action and took quite a lot of casualties, but they did also make a big impact on a German force. So for the second action, the Germans will have a completely new platoon. This is a retreat for the Durham Light Infantry to their right flank, and they will be holding this hill here with the entrenchments already on there, and it's going to be a difficult game, I think, for the Germans, but this is a key action for the British to hold their right flank. The British, as I've mentioned, have retreated back to this point, and on the British left flank they didn't contest the advance of the Germans, so they are now in a position with their 4 platoons in total to make a concerted attack on the British left flank. That'll be one of the later games. So let's take a look straight at the forces, starting with the British. We have 2 sections. They're slightly reduced in numbers, so we have 6 rifles there, and we've got our Bren team of 3 men and an NCO. British have lost one of their senior officers, so we only have 1 senior leader. We still have our 2-inch mortar, and they have their support in terms of the Vickers machine gun, which came away from the first game. And you'll see already in place up above here are 2 significant entrenchments. The Germans have to take this, and therefore that's good support for the British. Now for the Germans, effectively this is going to be a flank attack, so the Germans can set up anywhere along this line, and indeed all the way up along the line of the river. The buildings in the background there won't take any effect with the game. We're effectively working from the river onwards, and as far as the German forces are concerned, then we have a standard German platoon. So we have 3 squads with 6 rifles, and we have our MG34, 3 men, and we have our NCO with a submachine gun. We've also got our mortar, and also 2 senior leaders, one with a submachine gun, one with pistol. So German support, 7 points of support. Now, I originally rolled for 7 points for support, so with that I decided to get another squad and also to have a pre-game barrage. However, the British retaining the Vickers machine gun, I thought I'd add an element of equality, and also with these very difficult entrenchments, I've added a flamethrower team to add to the Germans advancing. Now I need to roll for morale. British will be the green dice, and there's no factors from the previous game which were going to influence the morale, so the Germans start on 10, the British on 9. As I've mentioned, it's the flank attack. That's the chain of command game we're playing, and therefore the Germans have 2 points to start their patrol phase. So we have 3 patrol markers here, right in front of us on the flank. The 3 are all the way back here. I use Fallschirmjäger for my markers. British, I use these 3 markers here, the naval forces, and they need to set up within a 36 by 24 inch rectangle, so the 3 will start from there. You know how many free moves the Germans get, and so it's 2 moves only. Basically, I'm just going to really advance with these in order to get as close as I can to the British up there, so the Germans don't have to be advancing over a long distance and being fired on in fairly open ground. So I'll just make reference to the fact that I didn't use the 3 down here as I mentioned, although the car in front of it is going to be the nominal jump-off point there. It really isn't going to come into the game. The ones that are all the way at the other end. We have 3 markers, 3 German markers, and the 3 British you'll see ahead of them. And as a consequence, the British jump-off points, not surprisingly, are all up here in terms of the defensive position, and right at the back there's also a 4th one that's been brought in. Importantly, in terms of how the game is going to start, we've got 1 here for the Germans, and then the other 2 are behind the stone wall there, and that's the jump-off points. So let's get straight into the game. Right, so phase 1 of turn 1, Germans go first as the attackers. Straight away with a double phase, a 5 for the chain of command dice, a 1 and a 4. Well, much as I actually did have a double phase, the reality is all I can do with that is just put the 1 for the chain of command dice on. I'm not going to bring a senior leader on their own, so I'm going to have a second phase. I only limit the double phases to 2, use all 5 dice, but here's the second phase. So we get this time another 5, so we're up to 2 on the chain of command dice, 3 1s and a 2. I've put 3 1s together to make a squad. They've appeared and are on Overwatch, which I've used with the junior leader, and then with the 2, these units have appeared and are moving forward tactically. British phase, 2 for the chain of command dice, wasted 6, 2 and a 4. I'm going to see if I can bring my senior leader on. There's a barrage with a 6. We can, so he'll be brought on back in the wooded area so he can't be seen. He is, and as far as the 2 is concerned, I'm not going to take the risk of bringing on a section just yet, so I'm going to turn back to the Germans. German phase, 5 takes the chain of command dice to 3, and then we've got a 1, 3 and a 4. Okay, with a 3 I've brought on this squad, and the Junior leader has them on Overwatch, looking up towards the hill there. I've also got a 4 and a 1 to play with, so I've brought on the senior leader and I've brought on the flamethrower team. Last question is really for me what orders I want to place for the unit in front of them. I could go at the double and have them moving as quickly as possible to the hill there, but I just think they would be very exposed. Alternatively, I could go 2d6 and get to the front stone wall and try and get some cover there. However, the whole point is to try and get them to attack, or I could do 1d6 with them moving tactically, so it limits casualties, and therefore the only thing is it's not really being very attacking, particularly because there are no British out here at the moment, so I'll still decide. Right, I've decided to take a risk. I'm going to go at the double, so it's 3d6. Both units will then take 1 point of shock. The senior leader can't move with them at this stage because he's only appeared, so he can't move. So let's see how far they go. Not far at all, so that's only 6 inches. British phase, and we've got 1 for the chain of command dice, which takes it on to 3. We've got 2 3s, a 1 and a 4. Now with a 4, we've already got the senior leader on the table. I'm going to use the 1 to see if I can deploy a 2-inch mortar. So 4, 5, 6 I need, and yes I can. I'm going to start to try and lay down smoke, and the target will be just in front of this unit, moving between the 2 walls. So 5 and 6 it would be bang on. 2 it isn't. It misses, but that's where it lands. That's all I'm going to do with the British on this phase, so over to the Germans. And so, some good numbers I think. Wasted 6, and we've got 2 1s and 2 3s. Okay, I've got a 1 and a 3, so I can make up to the senior leader. Senior leader could move. He can actually move up to 3d6 because he doesn't take shock himself. He could move close enough to take the 2 points of shock off that unit in front. That would be his full move. And then with the 1 I could move the flamethrower team. I want to have them close enough to that front unit so that if we're taking casualties it would have to be shared. And then I think I might bring in with the remaining 3 a new and final squad. Make sure I don't roll 3 1s for the senior leader. No, he's fine, he'll be close enough. Move into the flamethrower, 9 inches. And so I've brought out the 4th and final squad. You can see now that we've got, I'm trying as much as I can to have width for the German attack coming along all the way, even along the river here, so that they can't just be covered by smoke from the British mortar, and look to try and get some cover. So the 3rd unit that's on Overwatch is this new one as well here. So over to the British. And so we've got 2 3s, a 1 and a 4. I think that's exactly the same as the last phase, because my option essentially here is to bring out 2 of the 2 sections. They could come out if, of course, they can with the barrage. But first, I'll certainly fire with the mortar. Same target, same location as it was last time. So that's a unit. And it's also a miss. Actually, a 4 is a hit with a line of sight, and therefore drops there in front of that unit. And I'm going to try and bring on my first British unit. So we need a 4, 5 and 6. Yes, they can come on. So I've brought the section on. They're still in the wooded area. They aren't firing and can't be seen. Nothing else from the British. So we pass over to the Germans. We've got another 1 for the chain of command dice, which takes it to 4, a wasted 6, 2 4s and a 2. With a 4, the senior leader orders both units to clamber over the stone wall to the left of the smoke. So that'll be 2d6 and removing the lower of the 2. Got a new senior leader here. He's going to order this unit slightly further forward to get a better fire position and to put it back onto Overwatch. With the 2, I'm just going to advance with this unit. 2d6 lower dice is 4 inches. This unit, 2d6, 4 inches, and 2d6 for this unit. 5 inches. That's how they finish, and over to the British. Double phase, a 1, 2 and a 4. Now this is a moment, can we bring on the Vickers machine gun? Yes we can. I had to slightly remodel my entrenchments due to the base of the Vickers machine gun, but that's on before they fire or anything like that, so we'll just see what else I bring onto the table. With a 2, can I bring on another section? No. So with a 4, I'm going to order this unit forward, and the senior leader will come with them, and he will also order the mortar to fire. 2d6 for the movements, 9 inches. And the target for the mortar team is the machine gun unit here. And that is a hit. So the British are in place. I can only fire with the Vickers machine gun in this phase. Also, although I've got a double phase, I'm having the house rule that you can't fire twice, so they can only fire in this this sort of double phase sequence, although the unit that's moved can fire in the next one if we roll appropriately. 10 dice. The Vickers are firing at this unit, which is on overwatch, so it can fire back. But the second, it's needing 5s. That looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. So we've got 4 hits. We've got 2 teams. Machine gun team will be the red dice. And we've got 1 killed in the rifle team and 1 point of shock. Let's check, is it the leader? No, it's not. That does trigger overwatch, so the Germans are firing back. It's a machine gun, which is 8 dice and 3 rifles. Needing 5s. That looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. It's also only 1 team, so all of this is on the Vickers, and it's no effect. This triggers overwatch here as well. Now, we've got the machine gun covered in smoke, but I think the 6 rifles could certainly fire, so they will do. 6 rifles needing 5s, and that looks like 3 hits as well. Again, it's a single team, and there's a kill. British second phase. We've got 2 2s, a 4, 5 for the chain of command dice, takes it to 5. Sorry, takes it to 4, and yeah, so we go from there. With the first 2, can I bring on another section? No. The second 2, can I bring on another section? No, I can't. Okay, so with the 4, I have 3 commands. I can use 2 for the senior leader to concentrate the Bren team in front to fire specifically at the MG team here, which it will, and then it has a further command. With the further command, it can order the rifles to fire at the same unit, but it would have to share the results. So the Bren team is 6 dice and needing 5s and 6s on the machine gun team, and that's 4 hits. Now they're in the open, so what's the consequence? 2 are killed and 2 points of shock. I will need to see whether it's a junior leader, but I've also got 7 rifles firing at the same target, so let's just see how they hit. We've got 5s and 6s to hit there, so we've got 3 hits. The target's in the open, so therefore I'm going to pick 2 to be the machine gun team and 1 for the rifles. So that's 1 more killed in the machine gun team. So unless it's a junior leader, that machine gun team is completely wiped out. And it's not the junior leader, so yeah, it's an MG team removed from the board. Can we roll for a bad thing? 4, I think, is a -1. It is a -1, and the Germans are down to 9. German phase. Oh dear. Right, well, it's 4 to the chain of command dice, which is gives it a full chain of command dice and an extra 2 and a 1. Well, with the sole 1 that I have, I've got a machine gun here, and it's in line to fire at the Vickers, so it will do, but 8 dice. 8 dice, needing 5s. And it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits. Hard cover. And there's no effect. We're straight back to the British. And they've got 1 for the chain of command dice, taking it to 5, and then a 1, 2, 4. With a 2, can I bring another section in? No, I can't. With a 1, the Vicar's going to fire at the same target, needing 5s and 6s, but only hits 2. This unit is now just rifles only, still in the open, 2 points of shock. Senior Leader will order both the rifles and the Bren to fire at the unit I've just fired at. Bren gun needing 5s. That's 1 hit. And the rifles. And that's 3 in total in the open. And so we've got 2 more points of shock. And the mortar will also fire at this target. And that's a miss. German phase. See if we can do a bit better. We've got much better really with 2 4s and 2 2s, as well as 1 5 for the chain of command dice. I need to start really by being able to get some kind of fire from the Germans onto the British section. I've got 2 4s and 2 2s, so I can do that I think with a machine gun here, reduced fire there. I've got a Senior Leader here, although the machine gun can't fire. I've got 6 rifles. And I also might make the firing more difficult by the British by firing cover fire from the machine gun team there whilst the other units move forward, which I think is something I probably will do. Right, this section's going to fire. The machine gun is within 18 inches, so we're going to start with them needing 4s, firing at the British section up there. That's very modest. It's 2 hits. I say 2 rifles can also fire, but needing 5s. That's another hit. That's the British are in hard cover, so I'm going to say that the red dice is the machine gun, and that's no effect. Over here, the Senior Leader is going to order the machine gun team to put covering fire on the British behind that line there, and it's also going to order the remaining flamethrower team and the rifle team to move. It's the flamethrower team could move all the way, actually, 2d6, and the rifle team could then move. It has to reduce 1d6 to get over the line. Now, I could just keep those close together, but I want to get that flamethrower team as close as possible, and in addition the British could use a Bren gun just to fire at it directly, so I may as well get it moving as quickly as I can. Flamethrower team then, 2d6, 7 inches. The remaining team can move 6 inches. 3 rifles. I'm going to fire this time at the Vickers machine gun, needing 5s. That's no hits. 6 rifles firing at the British position, needing 5s, and that's 3 hits. Hardcover, red dice is the machine gun team, so we've got 1 point of shock on the rifles. Well, the output of that was really modest, and I need to do something different, I think, in the next German phase. But what I'm actually going to do here is end the turn. The smoke's a nuisance, and I want to, in fact, give the British more options in terms of what they might potentially do for firing. And yeah, I need a change to improve the German situation. So yeah, I'll remove the smoke. It's the end of turn. It is the end of the barrage, but I think British have only got 1 section to bring on, so let's remove the smoke. British turn, so we've got 3 3s, a 1, and 5 takes the chain of command dice to a 5. And so now we're on turn 2. I brought in the other British section. I can only actually fit in 1 Bren team at the front there with the NCO, but everything can fire here. So we've got put the 1 and 3 together to make the senior leader, so we'll have the Vickers machine gun firing, a mortar. The new section comes in and we'll use the junior leader involved there. The senior leader can also take off the point of shock, and then the British section at the front can also fire. It's going to have a -1 in terms of to hit, so it's only going to be 5s, but certainly all the firing can come from here. So I've got some options here, not all of them ideal, in that with a 3, the junior leader can either get 5 rounds rapid with the rifle section, or alternatively get the Bren team to train its firing just on the flamethrower team. But if that's the case, it means I don't use the rifles, and alternatively we could just fire, but then we've got 3 teams to share the firing out with. So I'm just going to have a quick think about what the best option is. Right, I've decided to train the firing just on the flamethrower team. It's the biggest threat. I'm going to do that with both of the Bren teams with the 2 3s that I have. The first one, however, is under fire, so I'm going to say that we need 5s for a hit with that, with 6 dice. And that looks like 1 hit. Same with the other Bren team. Actually, what I've decided here is that although the Germans were firing, it's a team firing and it's a 4-inch frontage. Firing at that Bren team, I know at the start, or it was the British have just appeared, but they're right next to each other. And realistically, the frontage covers both of those Bren teams. So, based on that, I know normally it would be a 4 to hit based on the range, but actually I'm going to say it's a 5. So, in fact, it means there's only 1 hit on the team. So, I'm going to have 1 hit on the flamethrower team, and it's a point of shock. Vickers is going to fire at this unit. It might have been better for this unit actually not to have fired beforehand, then it would have been tactical. Otherwise now it remains in the open. 5s is required. And that looks like we've got 1, 2, just 3 hits though. So they're in the open, and that means we've got 2 killed. There's 4 men left with 4 points of shock. Last option, and I've got the mortar, and this time I'm going to try and drop it onto the flamethrower team. No, that's a 2. That's 6 inches to the left of the target, so it's just by this tree, and we're over to the Germans. Well, if we've got a German double phase here, we've got, it could be a game changer if the flamethrower could move into range, but we don't. We've got a 5, so we've got 4 on the chain of command dice, and then we've got 2 3s and a 4. Okay, with the first 3, the unit, the entire squad here is going to fire, covering fire. The British over here, it's a 9-inch frontage, so it's going to cover both of the Bren teams and the Vickers machine gun. The 3 here, the junior leader is going to order this unit to move at the double. It's going to be okay doing so in the lower part of the slope here before it gets into a bit more difficult ground, which will be a minus in their running. But they will both take a point of shock, although the junior leader will be able to take off 1 point of shock. Let's see how far they run. A total of 9 inches. And over here, I'm just going to move the tree. So we've got the infantry squad and the flamethrower. He's going to take the point of shock off, and he's going to get both to move tactically. So just 1d6. Oh dear. Right. Now that's significant because the point of moving them tactically is that if the British fire, it minimises the impact on the flamethrower team. However, they're 14 inches away, so it means that they're still not in range to fire in the next phase, so that could be significant. Right, British phase. 1 to the chain of command dice takes it to a 6. So, excuse me. So again, there might be something there if they need to use the dice to fire again. But anyway, we've got a 1, 2, and a 3. Here with a 2, the whole section will fire. And I'm going to separate out the rifles and the Bren team because the rifles can fire on a 4. They're not under fire. Bren team are. So that would be a 5, and then with the 1 and the 3 I've put them together, so we're going to fire the mortar, the Vickers and the Bren team as well, and I think this time they're going to fire on this unit here. Vickers first of all, 10 dice, they are under covering fire, so it's 5s. It looks like we've got 6 hits, Germans in the open. Red dice is the machine gun team. So we've got 2 killed in the rifles and 1 in the machine gun team. Also got a point of shock. See if it's the leader. 1 to 3. No, it's not. We've got the Bren team. 6 dice firing at the flamethrower team. Although we've got 3 teams in total that we could hit. Needing 5s, and that's 4 hits in the open. So 2 red dice are going to be the flamethrower team. Green is going to be the rifles, black will be the MG team. So 2 of the flamethrower team are killed. They will be killed if it's not the senior leader, so I just need to test whether it's the leader. It is the leader. I need to test then, I think, whether it's going to be the senior or junior leader. So 1, 2, 3 would be the junior leader of the infantry team. It is. What happens to him? He's killed. Certainly a bad thing. 2, I think, is a -1. And German morale is down to 8. I'm assuming that that's been the right way to do it, because I know we could have had 2 killed out of the flamethrower team, but they're all together, and we've rolled for an officer, and that's the result. So we've still got another British section to fire at that target. First of all, 6 dice with the Bren team, needing 5s. And that's 3 hits, 1 on each team. Got a point of shock on each. Lastly, we've still got the rifles. 7 rifles, this time firing with at 4s. It's going to have to be shared across the flamethrower team, the rifles, and the MG team. It looks like there's lots of hits. There's 6, so it's 2 each. Red for the flamethrower, green for the rifles, black for the MG team. 2 points of shock on the flamethrower. We've got 2 kills, 1 for the MG and 1 for the rifles. Just need to check, is that the leader? No, it isn't. It's a bit of a sorry state, but one thing is significant is that the flamethrower team with 3 for its shock and 2 men is certainly now pinned. And so I've also got a 1. It's the mortar. I'm going to fire smoke to land here on the machine gun as before, and it does. Although we're passing over to the Germans, I'm going to interrupt with the use of a chain of command dice, and I'm going to use the chain of command dice to interrupt with the Bren team firing at the flamethrower team, needing 4s, and that is 3 hits. Now I have to share that. It can't be concentrated fire because it's not with an officer. So again, it's going to be the red dice is the flamethrower team, the green dice will be the rifles, the black dice will be the MG team, and we have 1 kill. It's 1 kill in the MG team and 1 point of shock, but significantly it's not on the flamethrower, which is what that was for, because if we'd have had another point of shock, it might well have been that they break. Just need to test whether it was the leader. No, it wasn't. Now, for campaign purposes, and I'm looking at the requirement for the Germans, and the only way they could get anywhere near with the flamethrower is if I roll a double phase here, because it's got such shock, etc. It's really not going to be effective. It's still out of range, so it would need to move, and I think there's no way, as I say, unless I get a double phase, it could attack the British and dislodge them. Therefore, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here. Out of curiosity, I'm going to do a roll and see if I got a double phase, but I am going to stop in terms of the campaign. This is a really difficult spot for the Germans to attack, and I think realistically, and I will follow up on this video, is that I think I'd be calling in artillery or a Stuka to try and dislodge the British there. There are some other options to the Germans in terms of the campaign, so I think I'm going to withdraw. I'm going to do a summary piece in a moment about the casualties and to say how the Germans will move again on the left flank. However, just before I do that, and out of sheer curiosity, Let's take a roll for the Germans and what it would have been and whether they would have got a double phase. And or they wouldn't. So, therefore, it's the end of the game, and I'll have some summary pieces and some campaign thoughts in a moment, but this is a British victory. The Germans will withdraw to the paper mill, regroup. There is the remainder of the first platoon from the first game that was played, and whilst artillery, or indeed Stukas, come in to dislodge the British from their defensive position, the Germans will look to go again in the afternoon. And we would then assume that after this morning action on the 15th of May, the Germans will reform and attack in the afternoon, this time in scenario I, which is Chaux de Lorraine. The British, for their part, will withdraw from the battalion boundary once it starts taking artillery, and will be the defending position at Chaux de Lorraine. However, the British have had a success here, in that even if they are defeated in this particular game, they will have held the Germans away for a suitable period of time. As a result, it means that although the Germans may or may not, depending on what happens in this game, advance on the afternoon, the reality is that the left flank is not particularly important for the remainder of this campaign. The British now will have, for the second German attack, on the morning of the 15th on the German right flank, they'll have a total of 3 platoons to contest with the Germans 4. In addition, I think for the British potential counterattack, which will be on the afternoon of the 15th, I'm going to add a variety of forces with some extra support elements, and again it's just to have a bit of variety in the games that are played, and I'll add some detail when and where that game is played. So I hope that's been helpful, and thanks once again for watching the game. I look forward to seeing you next time.